The early morning sun spilled a soft gold across the New York skyline, casting long shadows over the glittering towers. From the 52nd floor of a glass-walled office, Nathan Cole stood silently, sipping his coffee as the city hummed far below. The office was silent except for the faint rustle of paper as he flipped through blueprints for a new, luxury high-rise. Nathan had just closed one of the biggest real estate deals in Midtown, yet his mind was already running to the next project. Then his phone buzzed. "Nathan, you've got to see this," came the excited voice of Ryan Hale, his most trusted scout. An abandoned Victorian estate just hit the market. It's unreal. Welcome to Nne'folktales, where we share with you an heartfelt stories that will reshape our mindset. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. You have to see it. Nathan arched an eyebrow. Abandoned estate? Sounds like a money pit waiting to swallow cash. Ryan laughed nervously. "No, listen, this is different. Original stained glass windows, carved mahogany interiors, 3 acres of gardens gone wild. The owners want gone fast, practically begging." Nathan's gaze drifted back to the city spread beneath him. Something about Ryan's tone stirred his curiosity. "Send me photos. Now." Minutes later, his inbox pinged. The images made him go still. The house was massive, a Victorian giant half swallowed by ivy, its windows broken, its paint peeling. But beneath the ruin, it looked like a sleeping masterpiece. "Book the car," Nathan said quietly. "I want to see it today." The black SUV cut through the city streets like a bullet before giving way to quiet roads that twisted northward. Nathan sat in the back seat, hands clasped loosely, watching as the scenery changed from concrete and steel to tall whispering trees and the glow of morning mist. His gut rarely lied to him, and right now it whispered that this house wasn't just a property, it was a story waiting to be told. When they pulled up, the mansion rose before him like some watchful guardian. Its gates hung open, creaking slightly in the breeze. Ivy clawed at its stone walls, and a rusted weather vane shrieked as it turned. The air felt heavier here, colder, as though the place was holding its breath. Ryan was waiting at the front gate with a grin, ready to step back 100 years. Nathan didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the second-floor window where, for the briefest moment, he thought he saw movement. "Someone's inside," he muttered. Ryan followed his gaze and waved it off. Probably pigeons, maybe a raccoon. These places are basically hotels for wildlife. Nathan's jaw tightened, but he said nothing as they pushed the doors open. Inside, the air was thick with dust, but the craftsmanship stopped Nathan cold. The marble floor still gleamed under the grime. Chandeliers of tarnished bronze dangled from the ceilings. Carved wood banisters lined the grand staircase like art pieces forgotten by time. David Monroe, Nathan's architect, arrived a few minutes later and immediately began tapping the walls, running his hand along the crown molding. "Structurally sound," he murmured. "This house could be magnificent again. Electrical will need a full overhaul, though. And the roof." Before he could finish, a sharp thud echoed overhead, loud enough to freeze everyone in place. Ryan forced a laugh. "Raccoons. I told you." But Nathan was already moving toward the stairs. "I want to see." Ryan hesitated. Some of the floors might not hold. "Be careful." Step by step, Nathan climbed the staircase, the old wood groaning under his weight. Dust swirled like ghosts in the shafts of light that pierced the cracked windows. Room after room whispered forgotten stories. A nursery with a broken cradle, a bedroom with faded wallpaper, a hallway littered with fallen picture frames. At the end of a narrow hall was a door, standing slightly ajar, leading to the attic. Nathan pushed it gently, the rusty hinges screaming in protest. The attic was dim, sunlight leaking through holes in the roof, casting eerie stripes across trunks, suitcases, and furniture draped in gray sheets. Then Nathan froze. The dust on the floor was disturbed. Footprints, small ones, Someone had been here, recently. He crouched and touched the prints. Still soft. He followed them slowly, his phone flashlight guiding the way. Near an old wardrobe, something shifted, a soft rustle. Nathan's chest tightened. He reached out and pulled back a curtain. In the corner, curled up like a frightened animal, was a little girl. She couldn't have been more than 10. Her dark hair tangled, her face pale. She clutched something tightly to her chest. A bundle wrapped in a blanket. A faint cry came from it. Nathan's breath caught. A baby. Nathan knelt down slowly, lowering his phone so the light wouldn't blind her. "Hey," he said softly. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." The girl's wide eyes darted to the door, as though she was calculating how fast she could escape. "My name's Nathan," he said gently. "What's yours?" The girl hesitated before whispering, "Sophie." "And who's that?" Nathan nodded toward the bundle. "My baby brother. His name is Liam." Nathan felt something twist in his chest. Sophie couldn't be more than a child herself. Yet she held the infant with the careful hands of a mother. "Where are your parents?" he asked, keeping his voice low. Sophie's lip trembled. "Mom said she'd come back, but she didn't. It's been 2 weeks." Nathan's jaw clenched. 2 weeks alone with a newborn in a place like this. "You can't stay here," he said softly but firmly. "It's not safe." Sophie's eyes searched his face. "Are you going to take us away?" "I'm going to take you somewhere warm," Nathan said, holding out his hand. "Somewhere safe." Tears welled in her eyes, and after a long pause, she shifted Liam in her arms and placed her small hand in Nathan's. Slowly, they made their way back down the stairs, the house seeming darker now, as if it had been guarding a secret and was reluctant to let it go. Ryan's grin faded when he saw Nathan coming down the stairs with Sophie in one arm and the baby in the other. "What? Who are they?" he whispered. "They were living up there," Nathan said, voice low. 2 kids. Alone." Ryan swore under his breath. "Nathan, this is bad. CPS cops." Later, Nathan cut him off. "Right now, they need food and warmth." Outside, the wind had picked up, rattling the loose shutters. As they crossed the cracked front porch, Nathan's gaze flicked back to the attic window. For a second, he swore he saw a shadow move. Someone was still watching. He tightened his grip on Sophie's shoulder and hurried them to the car. "We're leaving. Now." Ryan started to speak, but one look at Nathan's face made him think better of it. The ride back to the city was silent except for the sound of the baby's faint breathing. Sophie stared out the window, her hand clutching Nathan's sleeve as though letting go would make everything disappear. At a quiet roadside diner, Nathan pulled over. "Let's eat," he said softly. Sophie didn't move at first, then slowly nodded. Inside, the place was almost empty, the air warm and smelling of coffee and bacon. Nathan chose a corner booth. Sophie sat with Liam still pressed to her chest. A kind waitress brought pancakes and warm milk. Sophie didn't touch her food until Nathan gently said, "He'll need milk too. May I hold him?" Sophie hesitated, then nodded. Nathan took Liam carefully, his large hands surprisingly gentle as he cradled the baby. "We'll get him proper formula soon," he said quietly. "You don't have to do this alone anymore." For the first time, Sophie's eyes softened. By the time they reached Nathan's Manhattan penthouse, Sophie was asleep, her small body curled protectively around Liam. Nathan carried them both upstairs, his assistant Mia already waiting with baby supplies laid out. "Who are they?" she whispered. "The reason I'm not sleeping tonight," Nathan muttered. He laid Liam in the crib and covered Sophie with a soft blanket. For a long moment, Nathan stood in the doorway, watching her breathe. She looked too small for everything she had endured. Later that night, Mia found Nathan sitting in his office, staring at a set of property photos. "You think someone else was in that house?" she asked softly. Nathan nodded. "I know someone was. And whoever they are, they didn't want those kids found." The next morning, Nathan called in a favor. I need everything you can find on a woman named Clare Hayes, he told a private investigator. Single mother, mid-30s, might have gone missing 2 or 3 weeks ago. Start near the Hudson Valley. By evening, the report landed on his desk. Clare Hayes, former journalist, last seen leaving a courthouse where she had been digging into sealed records for a pharmaceutical case. A whistleblower case. Nathan's jaw tightened. No wonder she disappeared. He walked to the guest room, where Sophie sat on the edge of the bed, rocking Liam gently. "Sophie," Nathan said softly, crouching so they were eye level, "I think I know where your mom went. She was trying to stop bad people from hurting others. That's why she left you there. She wanted you safe." Sophie blinked back tears. She said she'd come back. Nathan reached for her hand. "Then we're going to help her come back." 2 days later, the storm broke, literally and figuratively. Thunder rolled over the city the night the doorbell rang. Nathan checked the monitor and saw a drenched woman standing in the hall, her hair plastered to her face, her eyes wild. He rushed to open the door. "Clare Hayes?" he asked. The woman nodded, breathing hard. "Where are they?" she cried. "My kids, are they here?" Nathan stepped aside, and Claire stumbled in, collapsing to her knees. Sophie's door flew open, and she ran barefoot across the marble floor. "Mom!" she screamed. Claire caught her in her arms, clutching her so tightly Nathan thought they might both break. Tears streamed down Claire's face as she kissed Sophie's hair over and over. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm sorry I left you. I had to." Sophie clung to her as if she'd never let go again. Later, wrapped in a dry robe, Claire sat across from Nathan in the living room, her hand still shaking as she held a mug of tea. "They followed me," she whispered. "They knew I had the files. I couldn't risk leading them to the kids." Nathan listened silently, his jaw set. "I have contacts," he said finally. "Legal media. If what you have is enough, we can bring them down." Claire reached into her soaked backpack and pulled out a small blanket. Inside, carefully sewn into the lining, was a USB drive. "This is everything," she said. "Trial data, payments to cover it up, names of the executives. They let a dangerous drug hit the market to protect their profits." Nathan took the drive carefully, like it was made of glass. "Then we end this," he said. Over the next week, Nathan worked around the clock. His legal team filed emergency injunctions. A retired FBI contact coordinated protection for Claire and the kids. And when the evidence hit the news, the city erupted. Headlines screamed, "Pharma giant exposed in cover-up scandal." Executives were arrested. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves. Through it all, Claire stayed in Nathan's penthouse, her children finally sleeping without fear. One evening, after the worst had passed, Nathan found Sophie sitting on the balcony with Liam in her lap. The city lights glowed below like stars. "Is it over?" Sophie asked quietly. Nathan sat beside her. "The worst part is, you're safe now." Sophie thought for a moment, then smiled faintly. "Mom says we can stay here until we find a new home." Nathan nodded. "For as long as you need. Maybe longer." The next morning, the air felt lighter. Claire joined them on the balcony with coffee in hand. Her face, though tired, was finally peaceful. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly. Nathan shook his head. "You already did. You fought for the truth. You kept your children alive when the whole world was against you. That's more than most people could ever do." Claire reached over and squeezed his hand. Sophie giggled when Liam grabbed Nathan's finger and wouldn't let go. "Looks like you're stuck with us," Claire teased. Nathan smiled, for the first time in weeks, feeling something that looked like hope. The mansion, the storm, the danger, it had all led here, to this unlikely little family. And as the sun rose over the skyline, Nathan realized he hadn't just saved 2 children. He'd found something he hadn't known he was missing, a reason to stop running from the quiet moments, a reason to stay. The following days were a blur of reporters, lawyers, and security details. Nathan's penthouse became a fortress. But inside, life began to feel strangely normal. Claire spent hours on the phone with investigators, her voice steady as she gave statements that could topple an empire. Sophie found her smile again, filling the once quiet halls with small footsteps and laughter as she followed Mia around. One night, after Sophie had gone to bed, Nathan stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching the city. Claire joined him silently, her hair loose, her face soft in the reflected glow of the skyline. "You didn't have to get involved," she said quietly. Nathan turned toward her. "Yes, I did. I found your kids. That made this my fight, too." Claire held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Maybe we both needed saving. 2 weeks later, the case exploded on every major news network. Cameras flashed outside courthouses as high-ranking pharmaceutical executives were led away in handcuffs. Whistleblowers came forward, emboldened by Claire's evidence. And through it all, Nathan shielded Sophie and Liam from the noise, taking them to quiet parks, reading bedtime stories at night, making sure they felt safe. One evening, Sophie climbed into his lap, holding a picture book. "Mom says we can go home soon," she said. Nathan smiled faintly. "Do you want to go back to the mansion?" Sophie wrinkled her nose. "No, it's too scary there. Can we stay somewhere new? Somewhere with light?" Nathan felt something shift in his chest. "I think we can make that happen." By the end of the month, Claire was granted full federal protection and a new identity for safety. But when the time came to leave Nathan's penthouse, she hesitated. "I've lived my whole life running toward the next story," she admitted. "Now I want a place where my kids can just be kids." Nathan handed her a folder. Inside were blueprints. "This is the house," he said simply. Claire frowned. "What house?" "The Victorian," Nathan said, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. "I bought it. The renovations start next week. I thought maybe it could be yours. A fresh start." Claire stared at him, speechless. "Nathan, I can't." "You can," he interrupted gently. "You fought for the truth. The least you deserve is a home that's truly safe." Renovations took months, but when it was done, the mansion no longer looked like a ghost from another time. Its walls gleamed with fresh paint, its gardens bloomed again, and sunlight streamed through repaired stained glass windows. Nathan drove them all up on a crisp spring morning. Sophie squealed when she saw the house, running through the front gate with Liam giggling in Claire's arms. "It's beautiful," Claire whispered, tears slipping down her cheeks. Nathan stood beside her, hands in his pockets. "It's not haunted anymore," he said quietly. Claire glanced at him, smiling. "No, not anymore." That night, they had dinner on the back porch as the sun set over the sprawling yard. Fireflies blinked to life in the gardens, and Sophie ran barefoot through the grass, chasing them. Claire laughed for the first time Nathan had heard since meeting her, the sound light and warm. "I used to think my story would end with me exposing corruption," she said, watching her daughter play. "But this feels like the real ending." Nathan shook his head. "No," he said softly. "This feels like a beginning." Months passed, and the house became alive with new memories. Birthdays were celebrated under the chandeliers. Picnics sprawled across the lawn, and the attic, once a place of fear, was turned into a library filled with books and soft rugs. Nathan visited often, always greeted by Sophie's delighted shouts and Liam's chubby hands reaching for him. Claire noticed the way Nathan lingered a little longer each time, how his laughter filled the rooms, how Sophie had started calling him Uncle Nathan without being told to. And though neither of them said it out loud, something unspoken grew between them, steady and sure. One warm summer evening, Nathan stayed later than usual. After Sophie and Liam were asleep, he found Claire sitting on the porch steps, the moonlight washing her in silver. "You built us a whole new life," she said quietly. Nathan sat beside her, the night alive with crickets. "You built it," he corrected. "I just opened the door." Claire turned to him, her expression soft. "So, are you staying for good this time?" Nathan smiled, a rare, unguarded smile. "If you'll have me." Claire didn't answer with words. She just reached for his hand, and as they sat there, the mansion glowing softly behind them, Nathan realized the house wasn't the only thing that had been restored. Somewhere between broken floorboards and sleepless nights, he'd found something he didn't even know he'd been missing. A family, and a place he finally wanted to call home. Like and subscribe to my channel for more contents like this, and let us know where you are watching from under the comment section.